Rob. Come on, everyone. How are we? Welcome to Tuesdays at TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Live. Are we all good? I'm a little bit late, so I've had loads of admin to do today, which I like to kind of get. I like to get in here a bit earlier, get a few bits and pieces on. I've had loads to do today. It's still good. It's just part of running a business, but yeah, I'm a few minutes late. You know me, I'm never the most punctual person in the world, but I'm here. That's all that matters. How are we all? Have we all had a good, it's only 11 hours since I've seen you, but did you enjoy the rest of your Monday evening? How was your Tuesday morning starting off? I'm saying now, the sun is still shining. We're holding on to this good weather. I think we've got 3 or 4 days left of it, so make the most of it. Yes, and there we go. As always, guys, this is a weight loss live. If you've got any questions, get them in, and I will do my very best to answer them if I can. Yes, if I can, I will answer those questions for you. So yeah, get them. Oh, hang on. Let me just tick. Oh, hang on. Let me just tick off. Right, I've ticked all my boxes now. Right, we're all good. Should we do the top 5 this morning on TikTok? Let's see who's in this morning. At number 1 is Callum. Kelly C's in at number 2. Faye's in at number 3. Carol's in at number 4. And Songbirdy 1 is in at number 5. Guys, as always, thank you very much for jumping straight to the live, coming and saying hello. Chichi Away, good morning. Kirsty B, good morning. Amy, morning. Steph GC, good morning. Tara's in, good morning to you. And Sheila, morning. Maureen's in, morning. And Lise, good morning. I'm going away in the car on Friday. Am I okay to send my check-in Thursday? Absolutely, Kirsty. Yes, 100%. So, obviously, it's a bank holiday weekend this weekend. I know Friday's it's not like an Easter weekend, but some of you guys may have decided to take an extra day off and have an extra long weekend or something like that. For whatever reason, if you if you ever want to check in a day early, then yeah, check in a day early. That's absolutely fine. Yes, if anyone ever want to check in on a Thursday, not a problem at all. Friday's check-in. Same for Saturday this week. Now, the only issue with Saturday this week is, it's not really an issue. We were going to Manchester shopping. I think we're going to go to the Trafford Centre now. Rachel's like, I think I'd rather go to the Trafford Centre, which is, I don't really care. It doesn't really make a difference to me because we're taking my niece shopping for a holiday. So, but I am literally spinning on Saturday morning, flying straight home, jumping in the shower, and then we are going. So basically, I will not be doing any work on Saturday. I will be doing that work on Sunday. So I'm going to work on Sunday. I'll do a little bit on Sunday morning. Unless, depending on what time we get back, I might jump in the office when we get back and do a little bit, but it all depends. So if you do check in on Saturday this week, which as always is absolutely fine and dandy, your check-in will be done Sunday. But I'll put that in a broadcast and I'll let everyone know that for this week. Other than that, everything else is as normal. Sorry, I'm just sorting out my supplements while I'm going through all these questions. Anna, morning boss, morning Anna. Boss, does the body resist weight loss the closer you get to your goal? No, the body doesn't resist weight loss. A couple of things we need to understand about the lighter we are when we are on a weight loss journey, all right? Number 1, you burn fewer calories, right? So someone that's 20 stone doing 3,000 steps a day will burn more calories than someone that's 11 stone doing 10,000 steps a day, because of their weight means they burn a lot more calories, right? So we do burn less calories. And because we burn less calories, but our appetite doesn't necessarily massively decrease, even though our calorie burn drops. It's not kind of like a correlation thing. Now, don't get me wrong. The lighter you are, yes, the less energy you need to take on board. But, it's not like, if you were eating 2,000 calories a day at 19 stone and you're now 11 stone, it's not like your appetite drops to just needing 1,400 calories a day. Your body's still going to roughly want. And this is why it's very important we try and counterbalance the drop of calorie burn through fat loss with an increase in movement. So basically, yeah, we burn less calories, and because we burn less calories, we do have a much smaller margin of error the lighter we get. Like, if you want to lose body fat and you're pretty light, you need to be absolutely bang on it, right? And that's because you're trying to lose body fat when you've not got a lot of body fat to lose. So you just need to be a lot more precise. A lot of clients, I put most of my clients in a 500 calorie a day deficit. But I'll be honest with you, clients that come on board with me that are 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 stone, I'm a little bit more optimistic with their calories. They've got a bit more of a leeway. But like I said, the lighter we get, the less margin of error there is. You want to lose body fat when you're pretty light, yeah, you've got to be on it. Another thing is, when we are lighter, right, or when we've got to a goal weight, this doesn't necessarily, it isn't necessarily relevant for people that have always been light, but what we need to accept is as well, when we're getting towards our goal weight, we tend to get happier. We tend to get happy with our. We tend to get happy with ourselves before we get to our goal weight. So what I mean by that is the goal weight number we have in our head actually probably isn't our goal weight. I've been through this loads with clients on their weight loss journey. So what I mean is, let me delve in a little bit further, because I might be sounding a bit like all over the place with it. A lot of people, let's say you start your weight loss journey at 20 stone and your goal weight is 10 stone. When you get to 12 stone, you'll be buzzing. If you're 20 stone now, and I said, I'll get you down to 12 stone, but that's it, you won't lose any more, you'd snap my hand off. Yet we always try and push the number a little bit more, right? So what we also need to accept is your goal weight your goal weight? Now you might be like, yeah, because the BMI scale says at my current height, I should be 8.5 stone. Forget the BMI scale. It's well outdated. And when we are getting to a goal weight, a target weight, we do need to take into account a few different things. Where have we come from? How far can we push our body with fat loss? Some people are just designed to be a bit chunkier than other people. That is something that we do need to accept. You know, I used to be 37 stone, yes, because I was a massive emotional eater and this, that, and the other. Am I designed to be 37 stone? No. Am I designed to be 12, 13 stone that the BMI scale says I should be? Absolutely not. Right? There's absolutely no way I can control my appetite enough to diet down to that amount of weight. Right? It just isn't going to happen. So it's not that the body resists. Like if you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose body fat. Now did I do some content on this? Did I put this on yesterday? If you are light and you're going into a calorie deficit, I talked about your BMR metabolism yesterday, actually, in a piece of content. So if you are light, right, it is, to stop anything like metabolic adaptation, we do need to make sure that we eat above our metabolism. So we can get metabolic adaptation where the body slows its metabolism down because you're not giving it the energy that it requires to function properly, right? It's quite a clever thing in the body. It does have a few fail-safes. So I actually said in that content, when I was 37 stone, my BMR, my metabolism, before I even moved, was 4,000 calories a day. And I used to eat 2,500 calories a day. Now my metabolism is 2,500 calories a day, and I eat 2,600. Now I've still got excess body fat to lose. Not ridiculous. I'm at about 22% body fat. So I have still got excess body fat that I need to lose. But I always make sure I am at least at BMR or above. I will never, ever, 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 from this point forward on a weight loss journey, eat less than 2,500 calories a day, because that's my metabolism. Because if I went, now don't get me wrong, I don't mean that's an average thing. You don't get metabolic adaptation because you spend a day, like yesterday, I ate 1,800 calories. It's not like, my body goes, Neil only ate 1,800 calories yesterday. I need at least 2,500 to function properly. I'll drop his metabolism. It doesn't work like that. I can eat under my metabolism for 4 or 5 days, probably for a few weeks, right, in a row before my body would ever think about doing any sort of metabolic adaptation. But then at the weekend, I'll eat 1,000 calories at least on each day, above my metabolism, so it all averages itself out. Yeah. So yeah, the body doesn't resist weight loss. We might Excuse me, Blossom's got clothes that she's deciding to destroy. I'll be back in 2 seconds. What have you got there? What are you doing? Don't you dare. Honestly, they're like a tag team, Betty and Blossom. Betty like headbutts the washing basket to get it to tip over, and then Betty just spreads the washing out everywhere. Blossom will eat it. Socks. She loves socks. She loves underwear, and she will literally shred it. And I just saw her then walking out. She's like, pair of socks. I'm like, no, they'd be good socks. Anyway, sorry, I need to shoot off and save some clothes from the dogs. So yeah, so basically, the lighter you get, a few more things, we need to be a little bit more on it, less margin for error. It's imperative that we have a good level of movement to trigger fat loss going on in the body. And we need to take a couple of other things into account. Yeah. But if you do it all right, it doesn't matter what weight you are, you can lose body fat. Look at a bodybuilder. They shred down to like 1%, 2% body fat before they go on stage. But it's because they lose weight I'm not saying in a healthy way, but they do what is required for fat loss to occur in their body. Does that kind of make sense? Denise, good morning. Blossom causing kids. Honestly, she's the best dog in the world. She's not destructive in terms of she's never chewed furniture. She's never destroyed trainers. You come up and say hello, Bloss. Come on. Not picking up. Well, that was a bit of a dodgy way to come up, but anyway, you're up. Aren't you? You're a very good girl. The only thing you do like to destroy is socks and boxes, basically. He loves socks and boxes, destroying them, eating them. Yeah, it's you, innit? Yes, you do. Oh, you're being a softie, aren't you, this morning? You do like chewing a bottle, and you do like shredding egg cartons out the recycling bin. But other than that, yeah, she's not like destructive around the house. She's really, really good. But yeah, she just sort of walked out there with a pair of socks like, hey, Dad, I hope you don't like these because I'm going to absolutely shred them all over the garden. Anyway, there we go. Right, let me scan down and see what is going on. And please do say ignore the BMI because mine is 8 stone something, never going to happen. Yeah, and look, you've got to take the BMI scale with a pinch of salt, right? You've got to take it with a pinch of salt. In certain ways, it is a good benchmark for certain things. So I don't care who you are. If your BMI is 40 or more on the BMI scale, you need to lose some weight, right? That's kind of a standard thing across the board. But the BMI scale, when it comes to target weight, it's too low. It is too low, and it doesn't take into account a couple of things. It doesn't take into account it only takes into account average height. So the further you are away from average height, 5'4" for a female, 5'10" for a male, is what it was based on, the more inaccurate it gets. The BMI scale doesn't really take into account your activity, right? It doesn't take into account, how much you're moving. Doesn't take into account metabolic health, right? So we have something called metabolic health, which is basically overall how healthy our body is. And that necessarily isn't determined by our weight. Now, look, like I said there, if your BMI is 40 or more, your current weight at some point in time is going to put a pressure on your body. But, you can have a professional rugby player whose BMI is classed as obese, but they train a lot, they carry a good amount of muscle mass, and the BMI scale doesn't take that into account. So they're not overweight, but according to the BMI, they are. So you need to take it with a pinch of salt. But generally, for most people, what the BMI classes as a healthy weight, right, it's just too low. And it gives too big a boundaries as well for it. So, yeah, in some ways it can be used as a little benchmark, but in other ways it's totally irrelevant. Yeah. Right, let me stand down. If you're fasting, what time is the best to have your first meal so you lose weight? Fat loss is not about timing of eating, right? Fat loss is about consuming less calories than you burn. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you have your first meal at 7 a.m. in the morning. It doesn't matter if you have your first meal at 10 o'clock at night. Doesn't matter. It'll make a jot of difference. What's your thoughts on enriched foods? What do you mean by enriched foods? Do you mean like fortified foods? Foods that have had things added to them to make them healthier? Yeah, great. Like a lot of people demonize additives in food. Well, what happens if those additives are vitamin A? What happens if those additives are vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin K? Right? I'm all for that. What happens if certain foods have things added into them that increase the fiber content in those foods? Great. What happens if certain foods have foods added to that? Yesterday I put on protein crumpets. Right, the basic crumpet with some added pea protein. Like, where's the issue in that? It's just a crumpet, but that crumpet has a bit more protein in it. Having a bit more protein in your diet keep you fuller for longer. That's the main reason why I sort of promote having a high protein diet on a weight loss journey. But there's loads of other benefits. Having a good amount of protein, and it doesn't matter really. Some people are going, "Oh, that's rubbish source of protein. That's great source of protein." Look, what people are talking about there is we have what's called the bioavailability of protein, right? And bioavailability means how much your body can use. Like when you eat a protein source, can your body use all that protein in a not in a professional, that's not the right word, in a good way, basically, to make it simple. So the highest bioavailability of protein is really dairy. So whey protein powder, unbelievable. You have a whey protein shake, 100% of that protein, your body will use it, right? Yogurt and stuff like that's fantastic. Then we've got meat, eggs are very good. Plant-based proteins like pea protein, wheat protein, rice protein, the bioavailability isn't that good. But if you are plant-based or vegetarian, then it is going to be a way for you to get protein into your body. And just because it's not quite as effective as something else doesn't mean it's not worth having, Pete's in, morning, mate. Hope you're good. Please win the Europa League, Man United. As a Chelsea fan, I love it when Spurs win nothing again. I have no idea. I can't even call. We talked about this last night. I couldn't even call it. But no football chat on the morning. Football chats if we ever do a live in the evening. Weight going up on scales, working out and eating salad and protein. What am I doing wrong? When you say the weight's going up, Benjamin Cooper, weight's going up. Is fat going up? Look, you'll only lose body fat if you're eating at a calorie deficit. But a lot of people come on, especially on a Monday or Tuesday, and go, I was on a diet last week. I went to the gym and I ate salad and protein, and I'm 2 pounds heavier this week than I was last week. Well, stop weighing yourself on a Tuesday. It's a really Monday or a Tuesday. It's a really inaccurate day to weigh yourself. And weight loss is about what we do over time. So when you say weight's going up, now Benjamin Cooper, if you come to me and go, no, I've been eating salad and protein and weight training since Christmas, and I'm heavier now than I was at Christmas. Right, well, we've got an issue that we need to delve into, haven't we? Because it doesn't matter what you're eating, it doesn't matter what you're training. You are consistently consuming more calories than you should be. Yeah. So let's have some timescales on this. Too many people go on a diet for 4 days and expect to see massive results, and sometimes it just doesn't work like that. Is she a poodle, pal? She's a cockapoo, but I would say, as a cockapoo, I would say she's a lot more poodle than spaniel. Obviously, cockapoos she's a Heinz variety, isn't she? She's a mongrel, really. She's not a registered. They're not, it absolutely blows my mind how much money we have to pay for basically, a Heinz variety dog. But anyway, she's a poodle. She's a cockapoo. She's an F2 cockapoo. So if anyone knows anything about cockapoos, if you breed a cocker spaniel with a poodle, that is an F1. Both Blossom's parents were cockapoos. And the more you go through the generations, the more the cockapoo can take on, like they can turn more poodle or they can turn more spaniel, basically. So I've been told in the research we've done. So yeah, she's a cockapoo, but I would say she's 2/3 poodle, 1/3 spaniel. I'd say she's got a lot more poodle in her than spaniel, basically. Anyway, Right, let's go. Hi, boss. Do you think if some days, if you hit calories and some days not, will that affect scales? No, not really. No, you don't need to hit calories for weight loss. Like, this is another misconception. You have to eat a specific amount. No, you have to be consistently in a calorie deficit. Now, like I've said before, for certain people, if you're very light, you need to, there's a few extra things we need to just focus on. If you're overweight, in a calorie deficit, and you know, if you're consistently in a calorie deficit, you'll consistently lose weight. It doesn't matter if some days you eat less, some days you eat more. My daily average calories is 2,600 calories a day. I ate 1,800 yesterday. Will I have lost body fat? Yeah, I'll have lost more than if I ate 2,600. Right? And so, yeah, you don't need to be specific. Certain days you need to, no, it doesn't affect. Now, don't get me wrong. When you say, does it affect scales? I'm sorry there. I'm talking about overall weight loss. If you have a day where you eat very little amounts of food, could that show as what we would call a false positive on the scales if you weighed the next day? You eat a small amount of food, you still go to the toilet the same. Yeah, you'd probably be a little bit lighter. Likewise, if you then have a day where you eat a bit more food, right, you go to the toilet the same, and you get the scales, you could be a little bit heavier, and that would be what we call a false negative. And if that's messing with your head, if you're weighing daily, just stop weighing daily. Um, right, let me scan down. What is a healthier ideal body fat percentage goal for a man? Around 20% is really healthy. If you can get down to around 20% body fat, yeah, you're healthy. You're not in a bad place. Sorry, I might have got cut off there. I don't know if I did or not. Anyway, I'm back. So healthy. So body fat percentage for a man, if you're anywhere around 20%, that's not bad at all. Your body fat levels aren't going to cause you any major issues in terms of health. Female, anything under 25. So you can get under 25, you can get around that 23, 24 fat percentage mark for a female, great. Males, 19, 20, something like that. And the Yucca app is good for understanding what additives are fine and what could be harmful. It's a terrible app. And I'll tell you why the Yucca app is a terrible app. If it was done in the right way, it could be a decent app, but it's not done in the right way. And I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't differentiate what the level of harm is for an additive. Right? Every single thing on this planet is poisonous to the human body at a certain level. But what the Yucca app doesn't do is it doesn't tell you what that certain level is. It just gives you a list of things that are in a product and tells you whether they're good or bad or not. So loads of people will scan something and go, oh my God, red, 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 red. That is absolute pure poison to the body. What the Yucca app doesn't tell you is all these things that are coming up as red make up less than 1% of that product. There's such a small trace element of that additive in that product, the human body wouldn't even recognize it. It would be just like, yeah, there might be this trick. I always use the analogy, there's cyanide in apples, right? It's mainly in the seed, but some of that does leach into the flesh. So when you eat an apple, you are eating cyanide. That drug that was used like in World War II to kill people, right? That is in apples. But the amount, the dosage of it in there is so minimal. You would literally, if you ate 100 apples in a day, right, there still wouldn't be anywhere near enough cyanide to make you poorly. In fact, you would actually overconsume other things like, fructose, and too much fructose in a day, sugar, would give you the shits, right? So the fructose would be more detrimental to actual daily health and not, than actual cyanide in. The Yucca app is a one-way ticket to get an eating disorder. I would delete it. So many people will scan a product and run away from it because it's got a trace element. And this is the thing. like I say, no one ever talks about what we would distinguish as the level of harm in a product. So you get all these prats in supermarkets picking up food and going, I reviewed these yesterday, right? These char grill chicken breast peri peri chicken fillets, right? So I've done it. The review will be out on Friday. I had them for my lunch yesterday. And if we look at the ingredients, right, it is, when you look at the ingredients, right, whatever the first ingredient is, that is the biggest ingredient in that product. And then as we go through the ingredients, the less the amount, the further it is along that thing. Now, if we look at the ingredients of this product, the main ingredient is chicken breast fillet, right? And we know how much of a percentage it's 2 chicken breasts, right? It is literally 98% chicken breast. How do we know that? Because when we look at the calories, yeah, we have got in here 30 grams of protein. So that means 100. So each chicken breast is 113 grams, right? We've got 30 grams of protein. Well, each chicken breast, sorry, is 162 calories. We've got 30 grams of protein. So 120 grams of this is protein, right? Sorry, 120 calories out of 162 is protein. That's 3/4, right? We've also got some fat in there, 2.6 grams, very low in saturated fat, but fat is 9 calories a gram, right? So protein is 120 calories worth of protein in there. 2.6 times 9, right, is 23, right? So 143.4 calories in this product is protein and fat. When we have additives will be classed as a carbohydrate, right? They wouldn't be classed as protein, they wouldn't be classed as fat, they would come down under carbohydrates. And there's 4.3 grams of carbs, right? So 4.3 grams of carbs times 4, so 17 calories is carbohydrates, right? So if we do 17 divided by 162 and then times that by 100, so 10%. So 10%. So at least 90% of this is chicken breast. It'll be more than that. But everything else, but basically, all this tapioca starch, sugar, salt, vinegar powder, yeast extract, acidity regulator, chili, paprika, pepper, rice flour, garlic powder, tomato powder, parsley, smoke flavorings, paprika extract, emulsifier, and soy lectins. We could go with all of that, and people can read and go, look at all these ingredients in this. It's called seasoning on the chicken, and it makes up a few percent of the entire product, right? And then if you break each one down, if it was even, there's probably something like 0.2 of a gram of tapioca starch, which isn't bad for us anyway. 0.2 of a gram of sugar, right? 0.2 of a gram of vinegar powder, right? There's no context behind it. So there's such a small amount of seasoning, which makes these taste very good, by the way. Wait for the full review, but these are decent. But we can fearmonger all we want. But all these, yes, seasonings in there won't even be registered by the human body. They're too small an element. They'll make the food taste nice, but they'll never be detrimental to our health because there's not enough of them in there to be detrimental to our health, right? Now, don't get me wrong, overall diet is what we want to be looking at. And if you ate 10 of those a day, 7 days a week, would you maybe then consume enough of the seasonings, which are classed as additives, into that food to cause any detriment to our health? Well, no, probably not. But if you ate 10 boxes of those a day, you're going to be eating over 3,000 calories a day. And that's more of an issue than any seasonings that's in the products. Does that make sense? So it's very, very easy to fearmonger around food without using what I always call context. No one ever uses any context. The Yucca app does not use any context. It doesn't say, yeah, this product, this thing is really bad for the human body, right? But for this to be bad for the human body, to create a level of harm, you would have to consume a kilo of it. And in this product, there is 0.4 grams. Trace element will never ever be registered by the human body, will never ever have a negative impact on your health because there's such a tiny amount of it. Dead simple, yeah? What's the best way of measuring body fat? Can you trust the scales? The best way to measure body fat is body calipers, all right? So you basically pinch an inch. So you have body calipers and the body calipers basically pinch, and then depending on how close they go together between your skin, they can determine. And you tend to go for a limb, you tend to go for a hip, you might go for a bit of the back. There's about 4 areas that we measure. Very, very hard. And to find anyone that's very good at using body calipers to work out your body fat percentage, yeah, he's going to be pretty damn tough. Can we use biometric impedance scales? So I use Renpho scales. When I get on those Renpho scales, it tells me what my body fat percentage is. You can. Are they accurate? They're not the best, but they're not a bad, rough guide. So if you've got biometric impedance scales and they say your body fat percentage is 25%, your body fat percentage won't be 40%. It won't be 15%, right? It'll be somewhere in the middle, basically. So yeah, you can use them with a pinch of salt. They might not be bang on accurate, but if you're willing to just look at it and go, so my body fat percentage on my Renpho scales at the moment is about, I think it's 22.4%. My body fat percentage could be 23.4%. It could be 21.4%. It's a rough ballpark figure. So it's not a bad thing to look at, you know. If you get on a set of sort of like Renpho scales and it says your body fat percentage is 20%, it could be a bit less than that, it could be a bit more than that, but you're in a good spot, right? You are in a good spot. Yeah. Right. What's the best time to consume creatine? Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You don't have to have it as a pre-workout. I would recommend consuming it roughly at the same time each day. So having a 24-hour gap. So it's kind of an even, I wouldn't recommend one day having it at 10 o'clock at night one day, and then the next day having it at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the next day having it at 10 o'clock at night, because you're in 36 hours without taking it. I'd try and be relatively even with it, but it doesn't really matter when you take it. If you want to have it in, if you go into the gym and training and you're having a protein shake, and you're sort of like, yeah, every time, I always have a protein shake at 11 a.m. or I always have a protein shake for my breakfast. Right, well, just stick your creatine in it then. So every time you have your protein shake, you're always getting your creatine, something like that. Yeah. Right, let me scan down. 7 weeks after this week until surgery, they're now doing arms and body lift in OP1. OP2, is that boob and thigh or oob and thigh? I don't know what oob and thigh is. Yeah, 2 big ops there, but it'll be worth it, Carl. It really, really will. Once you're all healed up, it really, really will be. Body fat scales are good to look back at, and if over 6 months they're low, then it's good. It's like 100%. And you should never look at your body fat percentage on a scale short term. Look at it long term. Look at it over 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. Don't look at it week on week. Oh God, you'll see them fluctuate all the time, and you won't be able to make sense of it. Sometimes you'll get on the scales and your weight will go down 2 pounds, but your body fat will go up 0.2%. You're like, how does that work? Because it kind of averages it all up between everything, between bone mass and sometimes it can be down to hydration. So yeah, if you're going to use something like biometric impedance scales, I would only ever look at your body fat percentage once every 3 months. So look at it. You might look at it at the 1st of Jan. Have a look at the 1st of April. Then have a look at the 1st of July. Then have a look at the 1st of October, and then go back and have a look. Just look at it every few months. Yeah, you don't need to look at it week on week like you would your weight. Yeah. Morning, Stefan. Advice for breakfast that are filling, but not porridge. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of people, my rates is like this, and people struggle with this. You need to kind of get into a little bit of repetitive eating, because there's only so many dishes we can create, and it's not just a case. Look, you can create 1,000,001 dishes when it comes to breakfast, but we also need to take into account is things like cost, things like time, things like where we eating it. Are we making it and then taking it to work the next day? for me, I love my yogurt bowls at the moment. They're kind of my flavour of the month. But I tend to flip between, in terms of breakfast, I tend to flip between 2 or 3 different things, which is my protein porridge, my yogurt bowls, and sometimes I do overnight oats. And sometimes I'll do eggs and stuff like that if I've got time. Anything that's high in protein and high in fiber with a decent amount of volume is going to be pretty filling. So you kind of got to find what works for you. Now, with my yogurt bowl, now look, I fully understand with repetitive eating, we can get bored of what we eat quite quickly. So, I've gone through phases where I'll have my protein pancakes. Then I've gone through phases where, at the moment, I'm having my yogurt bowls. Will I get bored of yogurt bowls at some point? Probably, but then I'll flip back to protein pancakes. Will I get bored of those at some point? Well, yeah, maybe. And then I'll flip back to protein porridge, certainly in winter times. But yeah, I always find things like that are really, really filling for breakfast. But if you don't like stuff like that, there's nothing to say you have to eat. I always like something sweet for breakfast. Right? I just do. And somebody go, well, that's because you've been used to eating cereal. Maybe I don't care. Right? I just like something sweet for breakfast. I'm not a massive, if it is going to be savoury, it would be eggs and bacon. But there's nothing to say you have to eat breakfast food for breakfast, I've got a couple of mates that literally, they like eating, they eat chicken and rice and broccoli. They eat what you'd eat for dinner for their breakfast. But then sometimes they'll eat for dinner what they eat for breakfast. There's no set rules to it. Just kind of eat what you like. But don't think of it about, I think when it comes to eating, you've got to eat the food you enjoy. So what do you want to, so rather than going, advice for breakfast that are filling but not porridge, what do you like to eat for breakfast? What do you like to eat for breakfast? Now, you might come back to me and go, well, I like to eat cereal, but I'm fully aware you can't eat cereal on a weight loss journey. Well, you can eat cereal on a weight loss journey. The issue with cereal is it's not very filling. So if you were like, no, I want to eat cereal on a weight loss journey, all right, well, weigh it out, make sure it fits in with your calorie allowance, and then look at ways of upping the protein, right? Use a protein shake as the milk instead of actual milk, so you're getting more protein in. Look at maybe a variety of protein cereal, like the cereal cereal. It's not cheap. It's cheap it's not expensive when we look at a protein breakfast. If I have a bowl of cereal, it costs me the same as if I do one of my yogurt bowls, a couple of quid. But is cereal expensive compared to cornflakes or Cocoa Pops? Yes, it is. Right? So it's just a case of, sometimes with our eating, we just need to, rather than like thinking we need to eat in a very specific way to lose. She's asleep on the sofa. Think about what you like to eat, and then when you think of, I want to eat for breakfast bacon and eggs, right? That's fine. How can we make bacon and eggs for your calories going to give you a lot of protein, a lot of fiber, and a bit of volume? Because eggs are quite calorific. So, let's go bacon medallions. Let's go eggs. Could we maybe use, I'm not a massive fan of this, but could we maybe use 2 whole eggs and then add, 50 grams of egg whites in there to bring the calories down, but to increase the protein? Yeah, we could. And it's not going to compromise the flavor too much. How can we add some fiber in there? Well, maybe we go for a nice bit of sourdough bread, or look for a rye bread or something like that that's high in fiber, same calories as normal bread, but it's going to give us a little bit more nutrition. So there's lots of ways we can adapt. But when you're planning your eating, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or tea, for me, the best way to plan your eating, first of all, is go, right, what do I want to eat? Right? Not about what I feel I should be eating or what I need to eat on a weight loss journey. What do I want to eat? Right, what do I want to eat for my tea? I want burger and chips tonight. I really fancy a burger and chips. Right, how do I make a burger and chips so it's calorie controlled, so it fits in with my calories, so I get a decent amount of volume, it's got a decent amount of protein in it and a decent amount of fiber in it? Right, well, straight away, simple swap. Let's go for a 5% fat burger. Lower in fats, lower in calories, higher in protein. Perfect. Calorie control. Let's go for a brioche bun from Aldi. They're 160 calories a bun, right? Perfect calorie control. Let's make our own air fried chips. 400 grams of spuds is 320 calories, right? Leave the skin on to leave the fiber in there, right? And you can make an absolute vat of chips for a few hundred calories. So you can have let's use a light cheese slice from Aldi, the 40 calories each, and they've got nearly 5 grams of protein. So you take a brioche bun with a 5% fat burger and a light cheese slice on it, bulk it out a little bit with some lettuce and onion and maybe a slice of tomato or something like that on there. Boom, there's your cheeseburger, and you're going to be talking less than 350 calories, right? And then 400 grams of air fried chips, which will be an absolute vat of chips, full of fiber, full of goodness, great big portion size. Potatoes are one of the most satiating foods we can eat for the same amount of calories as your burger. So for 700 calories, right, you've got cheeseburger and chips and a great big volume of food that's full of protein, that's full of fiber, that's good volume, and it's going to fill you up. That is the way I've planned my eating a lot of the time throughout my weight loss journey. I don't think, what do I need to eat for weight loss? Because then we just revert to diet food as that's in our mentality. Salads, just lettuce, cucumber, onion, jacket potatoes, can't have butter in it because I'm on a diet and all this kind of nonsense, right? You've got to think, you've got to eat the food you enjoy, and it's then how do I make the food that I enjoy into something that's calorie controlled, that's full of protein, full of fiber, and it's got a decent amount of volume, right? When you start doing that, you'll start loving the food you're eating, and it'll support your weight loss journey. Yeah. Do you think a protein shake with 16 grams of sugar is good? Well, yeah, it depends. Like when you first of all, the devil is in the dose. So let's not demonize individual foods for having sugar in them. It's what is your overall sugar intake like? So I can go and eat a dish that's got 80 grams of sugar in, which is pretty much my recommended daily allowance for sugar. It could be 80 grams of free sugar, which is nearly double my recommended daily allowance for sugar. But if I then spend the next 3 or 4 days where I don't eat much sugar, is there an issue? Absolutely not. We then need to understand, where does the sugar come from, right? If it's a protein shake and it's a pre-made protein shake, that sugar is lactose, right? It's not a free sugar. It's not an added sugar. It's not an additive. It's just the naturally occurring sugars that's in milk. Now, don't get me wrong. We do need to look at our overall sugars, but I don't give a toss about how many natural sugars I consume, lactose and fructose. No one on this planet has any health issues because they've consumed too much lactose and fructose, unless they are lactose intolerant or have some sort of allergy against fructose, right? But no one's got diabetes from eating natural sugars in fruit or natural sugars in dairy. No one's got an obesity issue because it's calories that make us fat. And in all honesty, dairy, even if it's full fat dairy and fruit, is fairly calorie controlled. So now, when you take a nutritional label, I've not got obviously a protein shake here, but when we have a nutritional label, we get the traffic light system. And a nutritional label on the traffic light system breaks down fat. You'll see fat and then you'll see saturated fat, right? With sugar, a nutritional label, for whatever, and I don't understand why it does this, it lumps all sugars together. It says carbs and then tells you how much of those carbohydrates are sugars. It should tell you what that sugar is from. Is it lactose? Is it fructose? Or is it a free added sugar? Now, again, sugar is not the enemy. It's absolutely fine. But if we were to determine sugar as being the enemy, lactose and fructose that are naturally occurring sugars, lactose naturally occurring sugar in dairy, and fructose the naturally occurring sugar that we find in things like fruit and honey, are not bad for us at all, right? Again, overconsumption of anything is going to be poisonous to the human body. But to consume enough lactose and fructose to be detrimental to our health, you're going to have to eat a hell of a lot of it. And on the plus side of that, if you eat a lot of dairy, so you consume a lot of lactose, you're going to be getting a hell of a lot of protein into your body. Likewise, if you eat a lot of fruit, so you take on a lot of fructose into your body, you're going to eat a lot of fiber, right? And that counterbalances it. So a protein shake And how do you know if a protein shake? So you might go to Aldi today and get the Cowbell protein shake, or you might go and get the Pro Milk, and it says, how do you know if the sugar in that protein shake is natural or is a free added sugar? Dead simple. It will say on the label, no added sugar. If it says no added sugar on the label and there is sugar in a product, it's a natural sugar. Right? And again, I'm not saying you don't need to watch your overall sugar intake. We do. But no one here blows their overall sugar intake because they have a bit too much milk or a bit too many apples. Right? We tend to blow our sugar intake because we eat too many cakes and biscuits and chocolate bars and things like that. And again, you know, the main issue with consuming too much sugar is it's free sugars. It can increase hunger within the body if it's crashing your blood sugars, and it rots your teeth, you know. Right, let me scan down. I always used to think I had a small amount of chips in air fryer till I weigh them. Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're weighing your potatoes, look, 100 grams of raw potatoes is about 80 calories, right? So just weigh yourself 100 grams, you know, weigh yourself, 300 grams of air fried chips, even with a tiny drizzle of oil on, right? It's 250 calories. It's amazing, at a good sized portion, you know. How much would you lower your calories if you couldn't walk at the moment due to having gout in the ankle? I wouldn't. Never mess with calories. Pointless, right? Yes, you might suffer with certain things like gout that flares up, uric acid in the blood. If I had gout, I wouldn't be lowering my calories. What I would be doing, gout is triggered by what we eat, right? Richness, too much alcohol, too much rich foods, red meats, acidy foods, alcohol. I would be looking at improving overall diet than cutting calories, and it will settle down. Now, if you go to the doctors, they'll prescribe. I used to suffer with gout all the time. They'll give you what's called allopurinol, and that'll knock it down in a few days. Never mess with your calories for short-term health issues. But if you are getting short-term health issues, that is definitely, it's just a sign of what your overall diet is, right? It's your body telling you, right? Don't get me wrong, gout can also be caused by stress, but it is mainly, they used to call it the rich man's disease, right? Gout, because it was a luxurious diet that would cause it. So gout, even if you are suffering with it and you're not taking any medication, it should, if you improve your overall diet over a few days, what's the amount of acid you are consuming in products, it should chill its beans within a few days, right? And then when it does, you just get back to what you do, but never ever mess with your calories for a short-term issue, you know? Let me scan up. And there's a lot of sugar in alcohol. There isn't. Drink Holston pills. What was their marketing slogan? All the sugar turns to alcohol. There can be a lot of sugar in certain alcohols. Other alcohols, there's hardly any sugar. Things like white spirit. So if you're drinking things like vodka and Bacardi and stuff like that, very low in sugar. So if you drink vodka with a diet mixer, very, very low in sugar. Certain beers can be high in sugar. Certain beers can be very low in sugar. Wine can be high in sugar. Wine can be low in sugar. All depends on how sweet that wine. The drier the wine, the less sugar it would have in it. So yeah, it can and it can't. Again, it's like anything. There's more or less in all sorts of different things. Yeah. Right, let me scan down, see if I missed anything. Then I'm going to go get some food. What do you put in your yogurt bowl, Neil? The recipe is over on YouTube. Today, I've got 250 grams of frozen fruit, 150 grams of Greek yogurt, 20 grams of protein powder, 10 grams of chia seeds. I'm putting half a teaspoon of stevia in there as well, just to add a little bit of sweetness. I used to put honey. Again, honey's really, really good for us. But I used to put a tablespoon of honey in my yogurt bowls at times, and that's like 30, 40 calories. So now I put half a teaspoon of stevia in just to add a little bit of sweetness, just to save calories, really. I eat honey quite a bit, but I'm just saving a few calories on my yogurt bowl. It will have a little sprinkle of granola on top, and today it's also going to have some squeezy peanut butter, which I'm about to go and review for this week's worth of calories. Yes, Aldi have brought out a squeezy peanut butter. So basically a runny peanut butter. Now, normally when I have a yogurt bowl and I'm going to have peanut butter on it, I microwave some Skippy so it melts, and then I'll just drizzle it on top. But a lot easier and a lot more convenient to have squeezy peanut butter, and it is absolutely amazing for portion control. Why? Because it's just you put your, it's in a squeezable container. You put your bowl on and you just drizzle it over. Now, look, peanut butter is calorific. It's very good for us, right? But it is full of healthy fats, which again are healthy for us, but it is calorific. So, for peanut butter to be worth the calories, it needs to taste amazing, right? And peanut butters do taste different. The best peanut butter on the market is Skippy. It is unbelievable. Skippy extra smooth peanut butter is delicious. The worst peanut butters on the market, this is just my own personal opinion, are Whole Earth peanut butters. They are crap, right? They're claggy. They're just not what a peanut butter should be. I understand why people buy them because they think it's better for the environment or whatever, and this, that, and the other. But a peanut butter having a little bit of sugar in it and a little bit of oil in it just to improve the taste and texture, again, devil is always in the dose, is the way peanut butter should be. Yeah. So I'm gonna have some peanut. I was quite low on my calories yesterday, so I'm gonna give myself a few more calories. We've not really got a lot going on this weekend. In fact, all we've got going on this weekend is we're taking my niece shopping, so we will be hitting the food court at the Trafford Centre. And depend on, I'm torn between, there's a Vietnamese place in the food court at the Trafford Centre, which I absolutely love, and it's pretty you can get a great Vietnamese dish for 1,000 calories with a side, and it's a good sized portion. And then there's also Five Guys, so I'm torn between the two. But to be honest with you, it will be my niece's choice wherever she wants to go and eat. So that's it for this weekend. So I don't need to bank ridiculous amounts of calories. I'm not doing anything, not going out anywhere. I'm not drinking alcohol or anything like that. So I am treating myself to a bit of it. And do you know what? To be honest with you, we're having a cheeseburger salad tonight that we had the other day. So that's pretty calorie controlled. I don't know what I'm having for my lunch yet. Don't know about lunch. I had Jersey Royal new potatoes. I'm going to have more of them today. Absolutely sensational. Really filling. Not many calories. Yeah, so I'm having them, but I don't know what I'm having with them yet. I'm going to have a route through the fridge and see what's what. Protein pudding, fruit on top, chia seeds, and 20 grams of Biscoff drizzle is my brekkie every day. Anna, that sounds great. That sounds really, really good. Right, what we at? We're nearly done, aren't we? Right, let's have one more scan and see what's going on. Can you lose weight if you drink alcohol? Yes, you can. But to be honest with you, alcohol just contains calories like anything else. So if you drink alcohol within your calorie allowance, yes. But it's all down to anything, isn't it? How much alcohol are you going to drink? And it's then also down to what are the knock-on effects of drinking alcohol, right? So alcohol's pretty calorific. But for me, this is just for me personally, when I drink alcohol, I start to lose my self-control around food. If I drink a lot of alcohol, I really lose my self-control around food. Hence this weekend, if you watch my weekly weight loss vlog that I put out yesterday, I drank a lot of alcohol on Saturday, so I consumed a lot of calories. The knock-on effect of consuming that alcohol, I also struggled to control my calories on Sunday. So I went 1,000 calories over my ideal deficit. Would I do that if I didn't drink alcohol? No. Now, I've literally, this year, I've had, and to some people, this might be a lot. To other people, it might be hardly anything. To me, I'm just on the cusp of, I didn't touch a drop of alcohol for the first 2 months of the year. I went to Egypt on holiday and had a few drinks out there, but nothing major. Came back, didn't touch a drop of alcohol for another month. Then I went out for a friend's birthday and had a few beers. That was about it. Then I went to Spain a couple of weeks ago and had a few beers. And then I've had a few beers on Saturday. I won't touch a drop of alcohol now until I go to Benidorm in 5 weeks' time. So you can drink alcohol. Does it make it harder? Yeah, it does. Weight loss is hard anyway. So if you like having a couple of drinks here and there, a bit like I do, it shouldn't really make too much of an issue. It shouldn't really be too much of an issue. If you're sat there now going, I want to lose weight, but I want to go on the smash every Saturday, you're going to have to compromise somewhere. It might be a case of, right, well, you need to do that once every other weekend at the very most. I would recommend, if you're going to go out and look, having a glass of wine here and there with your tea, having, just, walking the dog and nipping in and having 1 or 2 pints and build 90 calories, that can be managed weekly within your calorie allowance. Going out, every Saturday night and having 7 or 8 drinks and getting smashed and having cheesy chips, mayonnaise, and a kebab on the way home, and then having McDonald's bread, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle. It could be detrimental to your journey, Resistance training. Can I use my own body weight instead of actual using weights? Yeah, it's called calisthenics, which is things like doing a push-up or a pull-up, or just doing a body weight squat. You can, unless you have got a good amount of body strength. It depends what your resistance training for, unless you're very, very good and you do a lot of volume, will you build muscle as effectively as if you were using weights? No, right? That's the honest truth. If you are very good at training, you're willing to do a lot of volume. So like you might do a bench press, right? And a bench press with some weights to build your chest. Well, doing a press up will build your chest, but you'd have to do a lot more press ups than you would bench presses because you're just using again. In a way, there's certain calisthenic movements. To be fair, a press up is fantastic, right? Because you are pushing up a lot of weight. Not many people can do a pull up on a bar as a thing. A body weight squat, you'd have to do a lot of volume without to get the same reaction in your body. If you're brand new to weight training, no. And it is a lot harder to give your body the resistance training workout it needs to build muscle just using body weight than actually using weights. But yeah, it's called calisthenics. Give it a Google and have a look. Yeah. Right, let me scan up. Currently eating the Aldi squeezed peanut butter. Yeah, I'm going to go try it now and I'll tell you if it's any good or not. Because like I say, certain peanut butters taste amazing. Certain peanut butters taste absolutely cat. But if this is good, it's a great way to just, you just want to drizzle 10 grams of peanut butter, which is going to be about 60 calories. Peanut butter can be quite strong in flavor. You don't really need a lot of it to add to a dish. And it is healthy, but it is calorific. So for me, peanut butter to be worth the calories has to taste amazing. Right, I'm going to go record that video now and make my yogurt bowl. Guys, it has been I scan my wine via calorie counter, then delete it. Yeah, that's probably not going to give you the most accurate calorie tracking, to be honest with you. Anyway, there we go. Right, guys, if I've not answered your question or read your comment out, please don't take it personal. I can only scan through, and sometimes they don't show up if I'm being totally honest with you. But anyway, that's us this morning. If you're struggling on your weight loss journey, that's what I do. I'm an online weight loss coach, so come and join my community. Or if you feel like you need a bit more help, come and get on the one-to-one plan with me. I'll give you a full plan to follow. You'll get regular check-ins with me. You can WhatsApp me whenever you want if you're struggling. So come get involved. TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube page. Click on my link tree. The first time my link tree is an inquiry form. You send over an inquiry form. I got a couple coming through last night. I'm going to email everyone shortly. The email last night. And I will send you all the details and tell me, do you want details of my community or do you want details of my one-to-one plan? If you join the one-to-one plan, the community is included. There's no need to struggle with your weight loss journey. I'll guide you and show you exactly how you should be doing it for long-term weight loss success. So stop sitting there beating yourself up, saying you can't do it, you can't do this, you can't do that. Get on board with me and we'll show you the way. TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube page, just click on my link tree and everything is in there. Right, when am I back? I am back now on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Thursday morning. I'm back with you guys. If you do join my community or you come on my one-to-one plan, I'm back at 11 a.m. in about an hour and a half. And we are doing macro and micronutrients today, right? So I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown of foods today, just to talk about macro and micronutrients. I've had a lot of people recently talk about carbs and proteins and fats and this, that, and the other. We're going to go through it all today. So that is a bit of a nutrition one today for the Weight Loss Coaching Live. And then Thursday's Weight Loss Coaching Live, which is just for you guys on Planner in the community, is we are doing the restrict and binge diet. All right, so we're going to talk about that one. And then tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., we have got our Everything Weight Loss Zoom session, which is where we can all come together as a community and have a natter about, weight loss, basically. But if you just follow me on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, I will see you guys I think I put it in at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday. So I shall be back then. Have a great rest of Tuesday and Wednesday if I don't see you. And I'll see you Thursday morning. TikTok, I'll sign up to you first. And then Facebook, YouTube, I'll see you Thursday morning, if not before.